Ark of the Covenant was sacred. It contained God's 10 Commandments.
The Ark was the most significant object that has ever existed on the face of the earth.
The Bible tells of its extreme power.
Fiery sparks would emerge.
People would die if they touched it.
God made his power manifest through the Ark.
It was his throne on earth.
Yet the Ark has been lost for over 2,500 years. Gone, but not forgotten.
The Ark exists today. It is somewhere.
Where is it now? That's the million-dollar question.
Over the ages, men have hunted for the Ark in Egypt, in the Arabian desert, or even in Ethiopia.
It's like looking for a needle in the haystack.
But one man claimed to have found it in Jerusalem.
He pointed out where he believed it was.
Was he a charlatan, or as he believed, an instrument of God?
God led us right to it.
Ron Wyatt said he saw the Ark of the Covenant with his own eyes and lived to tell the tale. Ron Wyatt was from Kentucky, a poor but God-fearing state in America's Bible Belt.
He came from a very large family that lived in rural Kentucky in the mountains. Much poverty, not much of a chance in life. He had to leave home when he was either 12 or 13.
What Ron knew of the ancient Middle East came from reading the Bible. He was drawn to the Seventh-day Adventist Church, a devout Christian sect where Bible study is a lifetime pursuit. A habit he instilled in his own children, a daughter and 2 sons. Michelle is the eldest and attends this Seventh-day Adventist church near Nashville every Sabbath.
Dad was raised that way his whole life, and we were our entire lives also.
His youngest son was named after him, Ron Wyatt Jr.
We were raised Seventh-day Adventists, fairly strict. I mean, you know, we had to go to church, had to go to Sabbath school.
Seventh-day Adventists believe that the Bible is the Word of God and historically accurate.
You have your Bible class, so you go through there and you study all the different stories in there about David and Moses.
There was something else you saw out there about what Jesus gave to us, and that is the little stars.
At home, every evening we had worship. So we had Bible books, like children's story books, and Dad would read us a story every night. So we got to take turns sitting on his lap while he held the book and read the book. So we were raised our whole lives to believe all of that's true.
So we were always raised up knowing the Bible, no doubt that it's the truth. That's, to us, it was fact.
Ron Wyatt worked in a Tennessee hospital as a nurse anesthetist, but age 44, he made a life-changing decision to prove that the stories of the Bible are true. Loaded up with equipment, including an 8mm cine camera, Ron and his 2 sons, Danny and Ronnie, set off for the foothills of Mount Ararat in Turkey, looking for Noah's Ark. And in a boat-shaped rocky outcrop, they thought they'd found it.
My dad was quite sure that that was Noah's Ark because it's the only boat-shaped object way up in a mountain range in Turkey.
Right here is a piece of Noah's Ark. It's petrified wood, and we found this right up on top of the boat-shaped object.
The next Bible story Ron Wyatt decided to prove true was the parting of the Red Sea. So in 1978, after sub-aqua training in a Nashville swimming pool, Ron and the boys went diving in the Red Sea. They were searching for Egyptian chariot parts to prove Pharaoh's army pursuing Moses and the Israelites had been swallowed up as the parted Red Sea collapsed. The Wyatts were inexperienced in both diving and archaeology, but as soon as they started searching, they found what they were looking for.
Me and my brother saw a chariot wheel, and we saw the back of a chariot turned upside down.
And I found a golden chariot wheel. My dad figured later may have been the Pharaoh's chariot. I did take a picture of it, but that camera did drown, unfortunately.
But Ron's apparently successful search in the Red Sea was suddenly interrupted. Ron had severe sunburn and was unable to continue. As he was convalescing, he went sightseeing in Jerusalem with Danny and Ronnie, when something very odd happened. Ron suddenly stopped walking. He raised his arm. His hand pointed to a derelict area. When he spoke, his voice sounded strange.
There is Jeremiah's grotto, and the Ark of the Covenant is in there.
I'd never heard him mention Jeremiah's grotto. So that surprised him because he was saying, man, I don't know how I said that or why, but that came out of my mouth.
Ron was convinced that God was speaking to him, guiding him to his greatest discovery of all.
Ron really believed that God was leading him to look for the Ark of the Covenant.
Ron had no idea then that the search for the greatest of all biblical treasures would soon come to dominate his life. But what was the Ark, and why was it so important?
The Ark was the receptacle in which the most important items that ever existed in the world resided, namely the Ten Commandments.
In the Bible, the book of Exodus tells how Moses leads the Israelites out of slavery in Egypt and through the wilderness to Mount Sinai.
As the story goes, when Moses went up to Mount Sinai, he stays there 40 days and 40 nights without eating and without drinking, and then he received from God 2 stone tablets, and the Ten Commandments was inscribed with the finger of God. So it was really an object, created by God, something that came as a gift from a supernatural power.
The importance of the Ten Commandments cannot be overstated, not for how they were written, but what was written on them, God's law. They would become the foundation of Western morality. They are instructions of what must be done.
Thou shalt have no other gods before me. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy.
And what must not be done.
Thou shalt not kill. Thou shalt not commit adultery. Thou shalt not steal.
The commandments were one half of a covenant, a bargain with God. If the people kept his law, he would be their God and deliver them to the promised land.
A covenant is a two-way agreement. Both sides have responsibility. So God took upon himself the responsibility to preserve the Jewish nation.
The Bible says that God commanded Moses to build a container to keep the commandments in. This was the Ark. Reading his Bible, Ron would find a clear description of what it might actually look like.
They shall make an ark of acacia wood. 2 cubits and a half shall be its length, 1 cubit and a half its breadth, and 1 cubit and a half its height.
A cubit is about half a meter. So the ark was 1 meter long, half a meter wide, and half a meter tall. Small, but exquisitely beautiful.
You shall overlay it with pure gold. Inside and outside shall you overlay it, and you shall make on it a moulding of gold around it.
Most memorably, God's specification included on the lid of the ark 2 golden statuettes of winged celestial beings, cherubim.
You shall make a mercy seat of pure gold, and you shall make 2 cherubim of gold.
The Bible describes not just a beautiful, grand container for the 10 Commandments. It was so much more. The lid between the 2 golden cherubim was the seat of God himself.
The cherubim were absolutely remarkable because the presence of God emerged from between the 2 cherubs.
And this is the most important part of all. Legend has it that the ark was a dwelling place for God on earth, dispensing wisdom and unlimited power.
And this was where his presence came down and dwelt. It was his throne on earth. People would die if they touched it because of the glory of God that no human can survive.
As the ark was being carried towards Jerusalem, a man by the name of Uzzah wished to steady it, and because he touched the ark, he dropped down dead.
The ark was described as being an object of immense power. And we get depictions such as in the Indiana Jones movie, where uncovering it unleashed this unspeakable power.
Such was the power of the ark that the Israelites carried it on poles before their advancing army.
The Bible tells us about the usage of the ark. The ark was taken into battle as a symbol of the power of God and the fact that God would be with them as they fought.
But it was not just a weapon. The Bible tells how the ark eased the Israelites' path to the Promised Land.
We're told how the ark was carried through the waters of the River Jordan as the nation was entering into the Holy Land. And thanks to the presence of the ark, miraculously, the nation was able to walk on dry land. It's not the ark that has the power, but rather it's the power of God which is manifest through the ark.
Around 3,000 years ago, the ark found a permanent home when King David at last settled the Israelites in Jerusalem. The Bible says David's son, King Solomon, built a great temple on a hill. The ark was to take its permanent place in Jewish ritual deep inside, in a place called the Holy of Holies.
Once a year, on the holy day of Yom Kippurim, the Day of Atonement, the high priest would go into the Holy of Holies. That was the only day of the year in which he would enter into the holiest place on earth in order to pray alongside the ark.
It's one of the world's great mysteries that this most holy object not only disappeared from view, but vanished altogether.
When Solomon builds the temple, we know where it went, in the Holy of Holies, in the back room of the temple. But at some point, the Bible stops talking about the ark.
What happened to it, and where is it now? These two questions have obsessed countless generations. There have been many stories over the centuries about what happened to the Ark. Adventurers have hunted as far afield as Egypt and Africa, yet it has never been found. The most popular theory is that the Ark was lost in Jerusalem itself, in a cataclysmic invasion.
The destruction of Jerusalem by the Babylonians in the early part of the 6th century BC is described in the Bible. It's described in the records of the Babylonians and by archaeology.
Ron Wyatt learned that after Jerusalem fell to the Babylonians in 586 BC, nothing more is heard of the Ark. Did the Babylonians take it or destroy it? If they had, surely there would be a historical record of it. They would have boasted about it. The Jews would have lamented it, chronicled it. So if the Babylonians didn't take it away or destroy it, what did happen to it? Ron decided the clue lay in his involuntary words. But who was Jeremiah?
Jeremiah, the son of Hilkiah from the village of Anatot, was one of the three great prophets of our people, Isaiah, Jeremiah, and Ezekiel. And he had the tragic responsibility for preparing the people for the destruction of the temple.
Jeremiah was a priest in Solomon's temple, and his duty, having foreseen the danger, was to protect the Ark. Did he have anything to do with its disappearance?
There is one source, the book of 2nd Maccabees, that says that Jeremiah took the Ark and hid it from the Babylonians before the city was destroyed. Now, this is a book that's not in most editions of the Bible today. It's from what we call the Apocrypha.
The prophet Jeremiah, being warned of God, commanded the tabernacle and the ark to go with him. He found a hollow cave wherein he laid the tabernacle and the ark and the altar of incense, and so stopped the door.
The second book of Maccabees also relates that no sooner had Jeremiah's workers sealed the ark in the cave than they miraculously lost all idea of where it was. The ark was safe from destruction, but lost. So when Ron voiced the words, "There's Jeremiah's grotto," was he actually indicating the location of the cave where the ark was hidden? In January 1979, Ron Wyatt had saved enough of his hospital wages to return to Jerusalem. With his sons, Danny and Ronnie, he began his quest to unearth the Ark of the Covenant. But as their own film footage shows, the area he had pointed to looked very inauspicious. It was a rubbish dump.
When we first started digging, there was a dead cat in there and trash. Me and my dad were the first two in there, and we were digging and a lot of dust.
We're in real soft ash-like stuff. It's just real soft. Digging down, I got a big cave in on me, and it kind of got me up to about here. I couldn't hardly move, but my head was out. I could breathe, but it just kind of trapped me there, so they had to dig me out of that.
Ron wasn't one to let a lack of training or experience hamper his quest for the Ark.
We weren't shoring up the cave as we dug it at all. We weren't putting boards over our heads or shoring anything up.
I'd never dug a hole like that before. We were lucky we didn't bury ourselves, probably. Yeah, not the smartest thing.
There are things that could have collapsed on us at any time. It was very dangerous.
Although the Wyatts were inexperienced, they were also lucky. No one was injured, but it seemed their luck had run out when they hit a serious problem.
We were digging along the outside and we broke into the mountain and cleared out a bunch of rock from in there and started digging inside the mountain.
Now, their work stalled. Instead of finding Jeremiah's grotto and the ark, they faced a wall of solid rock.
Once you get past all the loose dirt, it became rock. And so we were literally busting rock, breaking through rock to get to where we were going. We had 3 or 4 buckets and we kept filling them up and crawling out the tunnel. You couldn't stand up, so you were crawling on your hands and knees. My knees were bruised, very, very bruised and swollen from crawling in and out of there.
But the Wyatts' biggest obstacle wasn't the injuries the rock caused them, but the time it added to the dig. Unlike the earlier discoveries, this archaeological quest was taking too long. Ron ran out of money, and he and his sons had to return home to the US.
My dad would run out of money and come back home and work and save up, and then we would quit our job or our school and go right back. As soon as he had a ticket, I'm gone, you know.
Yeah, that was his life's mission, pretty much. He'd come back and work, make money, then go back.
We'd quit anything to go do that, because it seemed really important.
When they returned to Jerusalem the next year, 1980, refunded and reinvigorated, they applied themselves to the obstacle between them and Jeremiah's grotto containing the Ark of the Covenant, the wall of solid rock.
Dad prayed usually in the morning, help us, you know, if we can find something.
We were constantly praying throughout this on a daily basis, you know, because we knew we were clueless.
Once more, Ron seemed to experience a guiding hand. He made a comment to his sons that he was impressed in some indefinable way to cut into the solid rock of the cliff face.
Every time we come to a stumbling block, we had to pray, and somehow we'd get around it and move on.
They set to work faithfully chipping at the solid rock of the cliff. Astonishingly, they broke through the rock into an open space. Could it be a cave? But the dig season for 1980 was ending, so Ron and his sons again had to go home to Tennessee and wait. Now, more than ever, Ron believed that when he returned, the Ark would be waiting. But could the Ark even have survived thousands of years buried in a cave? Even if he had discovered Jeremiah's grotto, Ron might find just a handful of dust.
In the case of the Ark of the Covenant, it's been 3,000 years since it was made. Now, we know, for example, that in Egypt, in a very dry environment, that wood can survive. We've got wooden objects from Egypt in many different tombs.
The Bible tells how God specified that the ark be made of acacia wood. Acacia is exceptionally hard and very dense. It will last a long time. In Egypt, acacia panels have been found over 3,000 years old. If Tutankhamun's ark-like chests survive, why not the ark? In January 1982, after 3 years of digging, Ron still prayed that he would discover the Ark, excavating in the place God had led him to. But ill health dogged his sons, and he had to send them home.
We had got ill that one time. I had got the flu real bad. Danny got flu. And Danny stayed, I think, for another couple weeks after that, and then he came home.
Even without his sons to help him, Ron wouldn't give up.
He believed so strongly in what he was supposed to do that nothing would stop him.
No, he never gave up. He saw everything through. Even if he almost lost his life, he would regroup and go back again and try it again until he got to where he wanted to be. Yeah, he wasn't afraid.
But now, digging over 20 feet underground, even Ron realized that he couldn't work alone. He enlisted the help of a young local man. Together, they labored in the tunnels he and his sons had worked so hard to open up. One tunnel in particular was very difficult. A narrow passageway leading through a chimney, a tight vertical shaft so small that Ron had to exhale to squeeze through. Inside the tunnel, Ron saw a very small opening in the rock wall. Only Ron's assistant was small enough to wriggle inside. Something about this space seemed to fill him with dread. Gripped by sheer terror, he fled, never to return. Ron believed his assistant must have experienced the power of the Ark. Ron enlarged the opening and squeezed into the confined space. He found himself in a chamber filled with small rocks. He caught glimpses of gold, not the Ark, but ritual objects from the temple. Now he was certain the Ark must be in there somewhere. Crawling painfully over the rocks to the rear of the chamber, Ron saw a partially buried stone case. The lid was so near to the ceiling that he couldn't see inside. Could it contain the Ark? He had to find a way to see inside the stone case. See the Ark. But how? Now, Ron may not have been a professional archaeologist, but he was a professional nurse anesthetist, and now he put his medical knowledge to good use. He wondered whether a medical camera and probe, designed to see inside the human body, would allow him to investigate and identify the contents of the stone case. Alone again in the chamber, Ron pushed the camera into a small hole he drilled in the side of the stone case. And suddenly, there it was. Ron Wyatt was the first person to see the Ark of the Covenant, lost for 2,500 years.
He was crying when he told me. He just said he couldn't believe it.
Ron Wyatt announced to the world that he had found the lost Ark of the Covenant, proof to non-believers of the existence of God. But if he thought he'd achieved his aim, Ron was in for a big surprise. The good news was not received with open arms. Professional archaeologists would need convincing evidence. They would want to see what Ron had seen, the Ark of the Covenant.
When it comes to any amateur enthusiast claiming that they found anything to do with the Bible, my first question to them is, show me the data. Show me your evidence.
Skeptics pointed to the fact that Ron Wyatt was alone when he found the Ark. He had no witness.
If you think you found the Ark of the Covenant, show me a picture.
But Ron didn't produce any pictures. He claimed he did have documents and photos, but was not allowed to show them. In a series of talks, he told people that the Israeli Antiquities Authority, the IAA, had made secrecy a condition of his excavating permit.
I'm not allowed to give the exact location, but I will say that the Ark of the Covenant is exactly where I found it. And we have proven that to the Antiquities Department in Israel. They have the proof, and they know it's been found.
But even the existence of a permit is disputed. Dr. Dan Bahat was the IAA district director at the time.
When I was a district archaeologist of Jerusalem, Ron Wyatt was in Jerusalem with his activities. To the best of my knowledge, he never received any permit to dig in Jerusalem.
Ron could have silenced his critics by simply showing them the Ark of the Covenant. Why not just return to the dig with witnesses? But Ron had bad news there too. He said the access tunnel he had made had been sealed by the authorities with reinforced concrete.
The way that you used to get through it through the garden tomb is closed. Can't get through that way anymore.
Ron Wyatt's claim to have discovered the Ark of the Covenant is backed up by no evidence whatsoever in terms of hard data.
Ron could never produce any evidence of the Ark of the Covenant for anyone. And yes, he did try. He did try.
Professional archaeologists openly expressed the opinion that Ron's discoveries were just too good to be true.
So while it takes years, decades, to become properly trained as an archaeologist, where you can read the ancient text, do the excavations, interpret the data and the analysis, it sounds like anybody can go out and try to find them. Now, the archaeologists know that that's like looking for a needle in a haystack, or rather a needle in many haystacks.
Ron was the first to admit he was an amateur. He believed God was responsible for his discoveries.
It's very obvious that I didn't find these on my own intelligence, or of my own intelligence. I don't think there's anybody on earth clever enough to have found all of these, but God knew where they were from day one, and he wanted everybody to see them.
So what was the truth? Lack of evidence begs the question, had Ron Wyatt made it all up?
As a person, he was a very pleasant person, but to this very day, I cannot make up my mind if he was a crook or a naive person. I say crook with reservation because I think maybe he was naive and he believed in what he said.
I had not known Ron to lie, and I knew he was telling the truth.
That was Dad's whole mission, to show the truth. I mean, he didn't take archaeology or anything. That's why archaeologists don't think that he's legitimate, but God uses people, not necessarily professionals, to do his work.
Those who doubt Ron Wyatt point to one fact in particular. He found exactly what he set out to find, down to the last detail. Even after the ravages of 3,000 years, the Ark he described was exactly as depicted in a Bible picture book. He produced a drawing of just what it looked like, covered in gold and with a decorated gold rim and 2 gold cherubim on the lid.
It is interesting that what Ron Wyatt says he discovered is the typical or conventional description of the Ark. In actuality, if you find the Ark, it may look completely different.
There are, in fact, 2 quite different biblical descriptions of the Ark. Exodus has the Ark constructed by an artist, Bezalel. This is the famous Ark, Ron's Ark, covered all over with the purest gold. Its lid with golden cherubim and a decorated rim of gold. But in another biblical account, not in Exodus, but the book of Deuteronomy, the Ark is far simpler. In Deuteronomy, Moses made the Ark himself. Just a simple acacia wood box with no decoration at all. This is a much more plausible container for a nomadic desert tribe to make and carry around with them in the wilderness.
This description of the Ark certainly lends itself to the belief that it's simply a storage box. And we find in archaeology, in King Tut's tomb and elsewhere, similar boxes.
According to professional archaeologists, Ron made a typical amateur's mistake. He went looking for one specific object to support a preconceived view that every Bible story is historically true. Trained archaeologists approach their subject with a more open mind, looking for any artifacts to help guide them to what the historical story might be. Never sure what they might find.
You may be looking for one thing, asking one question, and all of a sudden something else pops up.
This is exactly what has just happened to one eminent archaeologist. Professor Yossi Garfinkel of the Hebrew University of Jerusalem. He's very different from Ron Wyatt, but what he has found may change forever our understanding of the Ark. This is the ancient city of Kirbet Kiafa, above the valley of Elah. Famously, in this valley, about 3,000 years ago, the boy David slew the giant warrior Goliath with a stone from his slingshot. Professor Garfinkel has been digging here for 5 years, looking for neither David, nor Goliath, nor even the Ark of the Covenant.
I'm not trying to prove the Bible. You have the biblical tradition. This is a history which was written by people few thousand years ago. And what we can do as archaeologists is to see what we are finding.
Professor Garfinkel is looking for nothing and everything. As a result, his dig here in the summer of 2011 unearthed a fragmented clue to what the Ark may actually have been.
During the season, there were many fragments of quite interesting stone vessels, but as they were really broken to many pieces, we didn't realize what it was. So it was nicely packed, all these artifacts, and we sent them to the laboratory for conservation.
Highly skilled conservators explored what might be made of all the pieces. Rather like solving a fiendish 3D puzzle without the picture on the box as a guide. What they eventually rebuilt was extraordinary.
And when I came to see, I really didn't believe my eyes. It was a nice box made of stone, something that was never found before in any archaeological site in Israel or in the ancient Near East.
Professor Garfinkel knew little about the stone box at first, but during investigation, it began to tell its story. It seemed to be a model building of some kind.
This artifact is made from one block of stone, which was carved nicely in the shape of a building, and then it was painted red. There are traces of red pigment here. I think that there was a wooden door which was fixed here to the inside, and there were small pegs which fixed the door to its location.
But what exactly was this small model building used for?
Inside you can see a small depression, probably a base where a statue or maybe a symbol of God, a small stone or something was placed. So what is it? The way I understand it, an object like this, where they kept symbols of God inside it, and it was portable and moved from one place to another according to needs. And I understand it as a portable shrine.
Professor Garfinkel's thesis that this was a portable shrine is supported when the little building with doors is compared to the biblical account of the Temple of Solomon, where the Ark came to rest. They are eerily similar.
So this is what we called triple recessed doorway or triple recessed door frame. And this is exactly how the Bible describes Solomon's palace and also the entrances in the Temple of Solomon in Jerusalem.
But the box couldn't be a model of the temple. Radiocarbon dating tells us it is older than that. What is much more likely to be true is that the temple was a giant version of a portable shrine like this one. Then, Professor Garfinkel, with extraordinary insight, asked a vital question. What did people call this portable shrine when they used it in ancient times?
I think that probably the people in antiquity called such artifact Ark of God. And this is the biblical, the Hebrew name, Aron Elohim, Ark of God or cupboard of God.
So is this the truth about the Ark? That it was not a great and supernatural object? In the Hebrew Bible, the Ark of the Covenant is written Aron Habrit. Aron simply means chest or cupboard, a box to store things in.
In Hebrew, Aron means just a box where you can keep anything inside it. It's not necessarily something holy. Once you put inside a symbol of God, then the artifact became important. Not that the artifact by himself is not just a box. What is important is the meaning people gave to it.
In fact, Professor Garfinkel hasn't found just one ark, but two. The second is made of pottery and is different in form, but it is also a little building with pillars, roof beams, and a door. Garfinkel believes it is another portable shrine, another Ark of God.
I was not looking for anything like the Ark or a thing like this, but once we have them, we need to deal and to interpret them. It's not just you find a nice thing, to put it in the museum and you go home. You also need to understand what you are doing.
Garfinkel's work reveals that there were many arks in many places, ritual shrines used by ordinary people as part of their worship. Does this mean the fabulous golden ark Ron was looking for may never have existed? Not necessarily.
When you have a large temple in Jerusalem, you have a large kingdom, you have a very nice ark, can be made with gold and silver and all kinds of other things. But in the small cities around it and the private houses, people will not have such big artifacts and made from such expensive materials.
So is it the case that the Ark of the Covenant, carried by the Israelites through the wilderness, could have been a simple object different from the one built for the temple in Jerusalem? No one knows for sure.
People can debate it. People can say that I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong, but at least I can offer a new interpretation.
What Ron Wyatt would make of this debate, we'll never know. He died in 1999. Until the end of his life, he devoted himself to making many more controversial discoveries. to prove that the Bible is fact. He said he had a sample of Christ's blood from the crucifixion which proved Jesus had no earthly father. He claimed he had an encounter with angels in the chamber where he found his ark.
Tables of stone were found in the Ark of the Covenant. I personally removed them with the assistance of 4 angels who lifted the mercy seat, which I would estimate weighs about 900 pounds of solid gold.
Ron Wyatt was a master at organizing expeditions, getting the public interested, getting money for his expeditions, and creating a huge following. Whether he was a charlatan or a zealot or a madman is up to individual people's opinions.
To those who believe him, he was none of these. He was a man inspired to do his work by his faith.
When I get to heaven, I'm going to look around, and I want to see every one of you there.
I just feel really blessed to have had a dad like my father, and to got to do this work. It's just been an amazing thing.
We may never know the truth about the Ark of the Covenant, but stories of its fabled power and symbolic importance ensure that each generation will dream of finding it.
The Ark exists today. It is somewhere. We know it.
The Ark has not yet been found in any location mentioned by the ancient sources. That doesn't mean it won't be found. If it is, it will be accidental. It will not be because somebody has gone out looking for it. They will have been looking or investigating or excavating something else entirely different. And lo and behold, there it will be.